Hello everyone, I'm Ryan, and welcome to my channel, The True Connoisseur, where I discuss perfume as personal experience, as cultural object. And I'm not sure if I'm going to upload this video, so if you're watching it, it means that I felt I had something worthwhile to say on the subject. And that subject is fragrance theming, branding, packaging, and the phenomenon of unboxing videos. I recently received a fragrance that I thought would make for an interesting unboxing video, and we'll talk more about exactly why that is in a bit. But I think the phenomenon of fragrance branding, messaging, packaging has always been with us, right? This is not a new phenomenon. Fragrances were created with stories going back to the start of the 20th century and earlier. This sense that human beings respond to objects that have a kind of narrative around them that can help ground them in relationship to that. That's a tale as old as time. And I was recently in Italy, for Essence, and I was touring so many of the sites that were associated with the Medicis. And the Medicis were known for their projects of great vanity, for which they hired wonderful artists and artisans, Michelangelo among them. And one of their pet collections was just the relics of the saints, which they kept in beautiful reliquaries. And you could walk through museum after museum, and you just saw that they had collected so much of this saint memorabilia. It's almost like a Star Wars fan collecting a bunch of Star Wars props, or in our case, a fragrance collector collecting all those beautiful, rare bottles and displaying them so proudly. It's kind of an interesting precedent for luxury culture, that there has always been this sense of accumulating objects that have some greater significance. And the house of Filippo Sorcinelli recently released a line of fragrances, very recently. They were out previewed at Essence and are now available for purchase. They are the Memento line, and I will flash this briefly because I'm going to end this video with an unboxing video, but you can see here their Memento fragrance line has religious reliquary style presentation recalling the decadence of that time. This is by far the most ostentatious, incredible fragrance bottle I've ever purchased. And I purchased it because I loved the fragrance when I sampled it. It was something that it got on a little sample card. I was carrying it around with my satchel with me. The fragrance filled that satchel, and I just kind of couldn't get it off my mind. And that fragrance in question is Notre Dame, Notte di Natale. It is meant to evoke the scent of a church incense drawer, where different incenses have been deposited in and out of this drawer. I'm going to actually apply this fragrance now as I talk about it to clarify my thoughts on it. Sorcinelli, if you don't know the house, is a house that has incense as its core through line, specifically a liturgical incense. And so this brand move for them is in some ways a natural extension of the story that they have created for themselves as a brand thus far. This is a bolder approach than they've taken in the past, but their theming and packaging has always been very strong. They did a collection previously that I love very much. One of the fragrances from the prior collection that I connected with is called Unda, but it's from a collection that is based around organ note registers and the different tonal pitches you have there, and trying to kind of evoke those in fragrance structures, which is a kind of unusual thing, and you might be inclined to think that that's just kind of advertising guff, but when I was there at Essence, you could actually listen to the tones as you smelled the fragrances, and you could kind of really see the connection there. It didn't feel forced to me, and that was kind of one of those cool things where it was like, oh, okay, this fairly elaborate brand messaging is reflected in the fragrance itself. And the Memento line, of which Notre Dame, Notte di Natale is part of that line, carries forward this idea of liturgical theming to a new dazzling height. And there's something kind of tremendously interesting to me in a sort of meta-commentary sort of way about having this sort of evoking the symbol of like Medici-style luxury for a modern-day luxury good. There's a lot of interesting religious connotations that are caught up with that. There's an interesting sort of, if you want to see it that way, meta-commentary on the past, as well as meta-commentary on our current fascination with luxury. And then, of course, it is still just a luxury good, a Veblen good, if you will. Now, this fragrance in particular is a very dark, like orange blossom fragrance. It's kind of like the... I've described it as being the middle line between, like, if you took Serge Lutens, La Couche du Diable, and L'Artisan Seville L'aube and kind of mingled them together, this might be the fragrance that would result. It is a very dark, incensey orange blossom. I've never smelled orange blossom this dark and intense before, and I think it's those combination of notes like the orange blossom and incense that really pulled me towards it, and I gravitate towards dark fragrances in general. I haven't really smelled anything like this. I will say it gets really nice and more interesting and really opens up as you wear it. I find the opening a little bit heavy and direct, but it is one of those things where it's like after it's sat on skin a little bit, it kind of opens up. You're getting cedar evoking the wood of the drawer. You're getting these sort of smoky incense notes, this very dark, bitter orangey note alongside the orange blossom. Again, if you're familiar with Seville L'aube and you're familiar with La Couche du Diable, if you could imagine something that is taking a midway path between both of those that is just kind of like dark and enigmatic and has that sort of liturgical incense. It does feel liturgical in that way. That's what this fragrance is. And that's a very me sort of fragrance. So it's no wonder that I gravitated towards it. When I smelled it and kind of got addicted to it, I sold some things that I had in my collection and made room for this big bottle. But I wanted to talk through how that level of brand theming and packaging, because I don't own a lot of things that are as elaborate as this. There aren't a lot of things that are as elaborate as this. This is kind of in a category unto itself. What that does add to the experience and what it doesn't. And at least for me, I'm not big on bottle displays. As you've noticed, I don't tend to display my bottles. That's not really my thing. I actually keep them hidden in a cabinet, out of sight, away from light, among other reasons. But I'm not overly interested in the presentation aspect as like an object. But I do connect with fragrances that have like narratives and stories and connections around them. I'm easily susceptible to, theming around, particular authors I might love or films I might love. For example, I have been very tempted to buy Prada's Marienbad just because it's a tribute to the wonderful film last year at Marienbad. I don't really need Prada Marienbad. It's a lovely amber, but I have nice ambers. But like that appeal to me still kind of like pulls me to it in a certain way. And we're all kind of susceptible to that in our own way. And I think it's interesting that brands, in order to differentiate themselves from one another, are not just doing it in terms of scent profile, but in terms of packaging that is increasingly delineating them from the rest of it. Because if you notice in the market today, a lot of the bottles are very similar. Like if you just start scrolling through fragrance sites, it gets harder and harder for brands to have unique visual identities. It's very interesting to see that become such a focal point, especially with these more boutique niche brands. Filippo Sorcinelli is not a vast mass market distribution niche brand in the way that they're showing up at American department stores in the way that we're now seeing, like with Maison Francis Kirchen or even Frederick Mall. It is very much a kind of boutique brand with some notoriety in the fragrance community. Filippo Sorcinelli is not unknown. The fragrance Laus has received some notoriety as being one of the standard bearers for churchy incense. But it's interesting to see that become a focal point. And I am very curious, as consumers of fragrance, is that something that really pulls you towards a fragrance? Have you ever bought a fragrance just for the bottle? Because I have never done so. And has a bottle's design ever really pulled you towards it? That's not me, and that's why I'm kind of asking you that, as much as the story does. So for example, in the case of this fragrance, the story of the incense in the church drawer, where they kind of like bring different incenses out, and it's the remainders of that incense in there mixing with the smell of the drawer. It's just lovely and dark and intense and smoky in all the ways that I really kind of enjoy. So this one was an easy sell for me, but I didn't even know the story of the fragrance when I smelled it. It was kind of after the fact, when I was kind of regrouping and looking it up, that I connected with it. So I asked that because unboxing and fragrance unboxing videos are a huge phenomenon. We've heard different things about influencers loving to be sent, the physical bottle so that they can show it in their videos, and that the audience responds better when you display the actual video, the actual bottle. People love to watch unboxing videos. The algorithm spikes for good unboxing videos. I always tend to fast forward through unboxing videos on YouTube to get to the review portions. So that's at least me. I'm pretty impatient in that way. I'm just kind of like, we'll get to the judgment stuff. Tell me what's in there. But let me know if that works for you, because I'm actually, at the end of this video, I'm going to append my own unboxing video. And I think I'm going to jokingly call it, probably for the sake of juicing the algorithm a little bit here, the unboxing to end all unboxing videos, just because of the sort of layers of meta commentary that are here, given the particular nature of this bottle and the extremely elaborate version of this packaging. You'll see exactly what it's like. It kind of blew me away, and again, I've never owned anything like this to this degree, and we'll see what it does for the algorithm. I am kind of curious about that myself. Is it going to lead to a spike or not? But you'll get to see that video at the end of this, and I'm very curious as to whether you found that meaningful. Are viewers even going to stick around towards the end of the video? Usually people front load that content. That's usually what keeps people watching at the start. I kind of want to put it at the tail end to see if people keep watching to the end to get to it. Because I don't necessarily fully understand the appeal of it. I think in this hobby, I have always been, talking about fragrance, which is a consumer good. You always know that certain people are going to kind of like take your remarks as a potential guideline for what sort of financial decisions they're going to make for themselves. And I don't take that lightly, but I have always advertised my tastes as my own, and I hope you take it that way. I'm not really encouraging anybody to go out of their way to spend their hard-earned money on something or not. I'm hoping to give you an idea of why I like something and why I'm passionate about it, but I'm more interested in talking about it than I am in getting you all to, spend your hard-earned money on fragrances, because your tastes probably don't completely overlap with mine, and my tastes seem to be pretty unique to myself. But being a consumer good, I have always been wary of that sort of unboxing video mode, because it seems to emphasize perfume not as a fragrant experience, but as like a commercial object, something to be acquired and possessed and appreciated in that way, not something to be discussed as a full experience. But then the paradox of that is, like, the packaging and theming is ultimately part of the experience. It shades it no matter what we want. There are fragrances I have enjoyed but probably haven't bought because I find the bottles tacky, or the story behind them and associations behind them a little goofy. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I try to be objective and say it's really the fragrance that matters, but associations being what they are, we don't experience anything in a vacuum. And I think that is something that brands understand and are trying to leverage increasingly to distinguish themselves in a very crowded niche marketplace where you have so many different luxury niche brands competing for market share, that you will probably see increased emphasis on this differentiation, at least from independent or more individualized players, because the mass market niche landscape is going to increasingly feel kind of look-alike-ish. Like, you're going to always have your sort of like Byredo lookalikes, to throw a brand out there that has a lot of lookalikes currently. That sort of copycat niche luxury brand actually makes things a little bit more impersonal, and in a way to try to give a stronger context to these fragrances, I think you're going to see brands continue to differentiate themselves through elaborate packaging, through elaborate messaging. And of course, you have to be aware that is part of what you're paying for with these fragrances, and be okay with that. You have to love the fragrance. And in this case, I think Sorcinelli's fragrances, they're not just a lot of window dressing. There's actual substance there. And I'm happy to own this fragrance. I'm happy to own the other Sorcinelli fragrance, Unda that I do. So let me know what you think of Sorcinelli if you're familiar with the house. Let me know what you think of this release's particular packaging as you watch the unboxing video to follow this. And with all that said, I'll be happy to catch you in the next one and engage with your comments. But here is the unboxing of Filippo Sorcinelli, Notre Dame, Notte di Natale. So here we have the parcel from Filippo Sorcinelli. Came in a big cardboard box that was branded by the company. I'm just going to go ahead and start opening the packaging here. As we can see, it's nicely wrapped in branded tissue paper. And here we have the display box, gorgeously made, very much in that sort of liturgical style. It appears that I cannot open the box without breaking the seal, so I shall do so here. And there we go. And now the drawer is opened.
And behold, the relic awaits. Oh man, this is heavy, 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 this cap. Okay. And so you can see here, very much a fragrance fit for the Medicis. You know, this gilded hand here, very heavy, a very elaborate design on the bottle itself too. So as you can see, very elaborate, gorgeous bottle, and this big, overwhelmingly sized hand. You know, I feel like I need a pedestal for this fragrance, but there you go. It comes in this beautiful display box, and I can't wait to give this fragrance a trial run. Well, not really a trial run. I did try it before, but, you know, give it some proper wearing time.